Okay, so you can probably guess how week 3 went based on the fact that I am not getting to my video blog until Tuesday of week 4. So it's Tuesday morning, but I wanted to give you a recap on week 3 because it was a huge week for me. Tons of lessons to be learned. My journal is like almost 2 full typed pages in Word. The week kind of exploded. So day 1 was a firestorm. I'll just be honest. It was crazy. Over the weekend, I'm getting messages from kids like nuts that we were having problems with the portal. Nobody could get logged in at home. By the time I get to school Monday morning, I've got 2 parent meetings with the principal scheduled because I have parents who are concerned about the technology being used in the classroom and how they feel about that. Just a lot of things going on. So Monday I walk in, and Monday, I'll be honest, I spent a lot of time on technology issues. The funny thing is, the good thing is that it was a small thing. There's just a ton of Brain Honey sites, and my kids were hopping on other school districts' Brain Honey sites and other things, and so we got that corrected where they have to just in major detail type in that address very specific. They were kind of forgetting an S or just Googling Brain Honey and jumping onto other school districts' login page, so obviously they couldn't get logged in there. It took us a little while to figure that out, but once we got it figured out, I think that helped. Still kind of working on uploading some images. That's one of our issues. It happens about half the time we can and half the time we can't. And I think some of it might be a bandwidth thing. We're supposed to be getting more bandwidth at our school on Friday of week 4, so I'm hoping that's going to happen. One thing I did on Monday, though, too, is I handed a slip of paper to every single student who didn't have all their assignments turned in. And I asked them to write down why they didn't have their assignments turned in. So I asked them I said, if you haven't been able to get logged in, write that. If you just have been lazy and you haven't done it, write that. If you don't understand what you're doing, write that. Just give me some examples. And so they all wrote it down. They all put it on my desk. And Monday night, I spent some time, but I contacted every single student. Honestly, I get more conversation out of a lot of my kids on a Facebook message than I do otherwise. And a lot of people are very anti-Facebook when it comes to education. But one thing, and I actually had a conversation with a parent about this, because she was concerned about, why would you interact with a student on Facebook? And I just said my Facebook is totally professional. And the reason I interact with students on Facebook is because I feel like we're losing communication. Everything's going so virtual that kids are just not good at face-to-face conversation. But sometimes I have to meet them where they are and drag them into face-to-face conversation. So I can start with a Facebook message, and every one of my Facebook messages are like, okay, so when are we going to meet? So let's set a time. So what are we going to do to make this better? Let's have a conversation. And I'm always pulling them into that face-to-face conversation. So anyways, I communicated with every single student that said they were struggling in something and cleared up all of those to try to help them out. Had some parent conversations. Had some parents concerned about the technology. Had one parent ask, are you ever going to go back to textbooks? Is it always going to be digital? And before I could say anything, actually, our principal, Mike Roberts, said, this is kind of the way everything's going. In 10 years, you're probably not going to see a textbook anymore. Everything's going to be a digital textbook. And so, and both of those parent meetings, I think, went really well. So that was really great. Then let's see, day 2, something really exciting is I started an alternate path for a couple of my IEP kids. And Teresa Carter helped me, and we just kind of got creative and started thinking. What we did is we just duplicated my math class. So I created a whole nother class, and I just called it Math 2 Adjusted. And everything I do to my Math 2 class automatically happens to that class. So due dates, if I change an assignment a little bit. And then what I've done is I just go into that adjusted class and I kind of par down those assignments. So for me, I really like it. It's working very well. It's working well for my student. It's working well for me. I gave my special education teacher in the high school, we got her a login and password so she can view grades and assignments for all of her kids that she has. Let's see. So anyway, that was kind of exciting. Really surprised by the end of week 3, I'm shocked at the following that I'm kind of getting from these video blogs. So we have 111 likes, I think, on the Facebook page and over 76 views on the videos. So Didn't really start this to anticipating that a lot of people get involved, just kind of doing it for myself and for Teresa so we could kind of document the process, and it's been insane. And so this week we found out we're a fishbowl classroom, which again was not my plan, but hey, here we are. What is a fishbowl classroom? It just kind of means we're being watched by a lot of school districts, by a lot of teachers, administrators, people involved in blended learning or people interested in blended learning. We're doing some really different things with mathematics. A lot of people just trying to wrap their head around how do you do math on an iPad without paper and pencil? They're just kind of, how does that even happen? And so kind of exciting. We've got people viewing the class that I created on the portal on Brain Honey, and then viewing the curriculum that we chose, and they said, yeah, we want to do it. We want to blend like that too. It's kind of amazing, actually, and I'm totally shocked. But hopefully people get to learn from some of our experiences and some of the things we're doing at Kamiah High School, and that can just, be a resource. So that's kind of interesting, and I'm making a presentation, or I made it last night technically because this is Tuesday, but I'm not going to tell you about it until video for week 4. So day 3, one of the things I really thought about on day 3 is next year I need to make a module 0. And I need to make it just full of really easy math questions and create the kind of lessons on Brain Honey that my kids are going to see, just so they have some of those interactions. So it was just kind of a thought that I had to improve next year and to make it better. Day 4 was really, really exciting for me. So the week started getting better. I'll be honest, it started rough. And you have those moments where you go, why am I doing this again? But honestly, I just didn't let the problems be my forefront of my thinking. My forefront of my thinking is I know where I want to go. I know what I want my classroom to look like. I know why I'm doing this, and I just need to solve these problems to get to my end goal. So I really kept that at the forefront. Definitely some high moments of frustration this week, but ended the week really well. So anyway, day 4, I created a video as a review for our quiz, just on EduCreations, did some examples live so the kids could watch them. And I did it just thinking, well, rather than doing them every class hour, I'll just make a video, show it, we'll talk through it each class hour. And what I didn't think about when I was making the video is after I thought about it, I thought, I could upload this right into Brain Honey. So I actually embedded the video right into the kids' class. And then the coolest part was they pulled it up on their iPad. They clicked on Module 1 quiz review, and it just had this link. It said play it in EduCreation. Because I have an EduCreation app on every single kid's iPad, they clicked the link and it opened EduCreation and started playing this review video full screen on their iPads. It was awesome. So we did it in class together, talked through it, and then I said, hey guys, this 8-minute video or whatever it is, you can access it from home. If you feel like you need to watch it again when you study tonight, whatever you need, it's right there for you. And I don't know, I was really excited about that because it walked them through the problem step by step rather than them just looking back on something they'd written in their notebook. So I was really excited about that. I also had another student who said, hey, Miss C, I'm doing all of my math on the EduCreations app, right? And he said, every single question, I'm doing a new page. He said, so instead of me uploading 8 documents to you for my assignment, he said, what if I downloaded an app for picture collage and I uploaded all of my images into this picture collage, and then I just load the picture collage to you as one page and all my questions are there. And I was like, that is genius. It's brilliant. I was amazed. These guys are thinking out of the box. And I have lots and lots of conversations with my students about the fact that they have got to be tech savvy in the world that they live in. And I've just been talking to them about, they're like, why do we have to use technology? And I just said, even if you go work at the mill, because we have a lot of people that kind of stay in town and work at the mill, I said, a lot of trainings now that you go to, a lot of things they want to do is they put you on a computer and they go through to meet their specs and their regs that they've trained you and that, you've gotten the information. And the other thing I tell them is I said, if you can bring something new to your job, if you can say, hey, I know about this thing and I think it might help, and it does, I said, does that not put you on the radar for your boss? And all of a sudden, they're looking at you for promotions and they're looking at you as somebody who's adding to the company. And so I've just been talking about bringing what you know about technology to the workplace. So this student who came up with this app, I said, okay, do you want to download it on all the iPads? And he said, sure, I'll do that for you. So he downloaded all of them for me, got all the iPads set up with this app. And while he's doing it, one of my other students says, "That's not fair." Because I told him, I said, his name's Casey. I told him I'd mention him in my video blog. So, Casey, you're the man. You're awesome. And one of the other students said, "Well, that's not fair that she's mentioning you. I taught you about picture collages." And Casey's response is, he said, "Yeah, well, I got more educated about them than you did, and then I brought them to the workplace." And we all just started cracking up. It was just awesome how what they're learning about technology they're bringing to the classroom. And in the end, they're going to bring that to their jobs and to different educational opportunities. So super exciting. Let's see, I'm looking at my notes here. Anyway, crazy week. This is how I wrapped up the week. Day 5. We took our first online quiz with Brain Honey. So what we've decided to do in the math department, the other math teacher actually had this idea, Garrett Bretz, and I loved it, so I adopted it, is we printed out the quiz on paper. I created a quiz in Brain Honey with all the answers put in. And so the kids can't see the questions on Brain Honey, so they can't take the quiz early or they can't cheat or things like that. They walk in, I hand them the paper quiz, they can do work on the quiz, they answer all the questions, they hit submit, and Brain Honey tells them what they got right and what they got wrong. They turn in the quiz to me, and then I can give them partial credit based on their work. I'll be honest, it went flawless. It was amazing. My kids were engaged. They were showing work more than they normally show work, which is kind of amazing. They're just getting it. They're really starting to understand the technology. So that was a huge win for me. Another huge win I'm noticing is, and I talked to Garrett also, Garrett Bretz, he's noticing the same thing in his math classroom. We're spending no time grading papers in class because it's so much faster to grade things with Brain Honey. That means that all of my class time is going to my students, all of it. None of it's going to administrative stuff. It's all going to working with them. So that's awesome. Last but not least, I'll tell you kind of how the week wrapped up. So I gave my kids some deadlines. I think I started this new thing, and I think some of them really didn't take me seriously. I think some of them thought, "Oh, she's really not going to make us do this." And so I'll be honest, I had a lot of things that weren't turned in. I had a lot, and I'd planned extra time even with some of our technology issues, and I finally just said at the very beginning of the week, I said, "Okay, guys, there's going to be some due dates this week where you've got to get stuff in. I know you've had the time. I know you made it happen, and you can make this happen, and so let's do it." And so what I did, and honestly, I don't even remember if it was Thursday or Friday night. I think it was Thursday night. I spent 2.5 hours on the phone with parents. And every single kid who had an F in my class, I made a phone call to. Because I knew that starting something new with technology, that my kids were going to say, "Well, it's the iPad's fault. Well, it's this fault." And the reality is, I've had some real struggles with behavioral things in a couple of my classes, like some major struggles. And working with my principal for ideas and ways I can make that better. But I just started calling mom and dad, and there were several already who said, "Yeah, they mentioned the iPads are a problem." And it was great because I got to have a really positive but honest conversation with them about, the reality is your kid's kind of talking a lot and they're not using their class time wisely, or, they have so much potential. If you look at their grades, the 3 assignments they've turned in are all 100%, but they have, 12 more assignments that aren't turned in. And I think it's going to make week 4 way more positive, because once I really started putting those grades in, I was afraid I was going to have a ton of parents upset, because I had quite a few that were struggling, but not because they couldn't do it. They just weren't doing it, and it was new. And so that 2.5 hours, I called every student with an F and every student with an A, and I just really championed those kids that had A's. And week 4 and 5, I'm going to call the rest of my parents. I just think parent communication when I start something new is critical. It's going to be super important. And for the most part, I actually had more good responses than I anticipated. And I had a lot of parents get involved with me and jump on the bandwagon with me and help me. Literally, I did make the phone calls Thursday night, because Friday morning I had 6 kids in here with me by 7:30 in the morning, because mom and dad were like, "No, you have stuff to do and you've been given an expectation and you're going to make it happen." So anyway, I think communication is huge. I think that made a major impact on my classroom this week. And I think week 4 is just, and 5 are going to continue to be better. I think week 3 was just, you know, you introduce something new, you have all these troubleshooting things, it gets difficult, and there's kind of that climax of, oh, it's super hard, and we just got to push through it. And we did week 3, and I'm really anticipating, and it being Tuesday, I'm already kind of seeing it getting a little bit better in week 4 for sure. So just want to encourage you, if you're doing a blended classroom, anticipate that it's going to be really hard some weeks, and it's going to be a challenge, but just push through, because there's just still huge wins even in those challenging weeks. And just keep in mind that end goal. That's, for me, that's critical. I know what I want my classroom to look like, and I'm going to get there. I'm going to push through and make that happen. I'm going to solve the technology issues. I'm going to solve any of the other things that pop up. If my kids are a little bit apathetic with the technology, I'm going to solve that. I'm going to call parents. I'm going to pull kids in during lunch. And I'm going to train them to the type of environment that I want to have in my classroom. So just set a great goal in your mind. What do you want your classroom to look like? I think if you don't have that goal already in your head, it's hard to blend. So make sure you have that goal in your mind. And obviously there are some things you're going to adjust. You know, I'm already thinking, man, I need to have a module 0 next year, or just some things that I'm going, this can make it better. But the reality is you have to have that goal really clear in your mind so that you can blend and you can fight through the problems, and not let the problems kind of push you left and push you right and change what your goal is. So anyway, week 3, totally crazy. That's why this blog is late. I'm exhausted. I've pulled some late nights, but you know what? It's going to be worth it, and it's going to be just amazing for my students, for myself, for our school, for my community, just for the world around us. I'm so excited what this is bringing to my students. So anyway, can't wait to tell you about week 4. I know I totally want to right now tell you just a couple things that are so awesome, but I'm going to wait till week 4's blog. Anyway, thank you guys all for listening. Honestly, I'm just totally blown away by how many emails I'm getting, by how often my videos are being watched, by the interaction on Facebook. We never planned this. We never anticipated this. But if any of this helps you, I'm just so glad that we could maybe contribute. But mostly, I just feel really honored and shocked and surprised. So thank you for watching. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Please feel free to send me an email if you have questions. I've got that information listed, and you can do it on the Facebook as well. There's just lots of information out there on blended learning. So hopefully we're just one little piece kind of in that big puzzle out there. All right, thanks, and we'll talk to you guys on week 4.